Obviously, yesterday was a big disappointment. The decision by the big bargaining team to reject the tentative agreement with CTU's leadership was disheartening. But as Chairman Clark said, we'll be back at the table. And in fact, the conversations have already begun. I spoke to Karen Lewis this morning. Despite yesterday's decision, we are both committed to getting a deal done. Before I get into specifics and the next steps, I want to take a moment and speak directly to our parents and anyone who has a child in CPS. My message to you is that our work is not finished. We owe it to you, and especially to your children, to remain at the negotiating table around the clock. And you have my word that we will continue working to find a deal that keeps your children inside the classroom where they belong. We will not be deterred from working with CTU towards an agreement for the sake of our children and their education. Let me repeat, we will remain at the bargaining table and will keep working around the clock to get a deal done. We heard CTU yesterday, and as President Clark said, we will work to restore trust necessary to reach an agreement. Despite facing unprecedented financial challenges that threaten our classrooms, we had reached a tentative agreement with CTU leadership. We negotiated in good faith for 14 months, including 18 consecutive days leading up to the agreement, many starting early in the morning and going late into the evening. I want to personally thank all the negotiators who have given up nights, weekends, and a lot of sleep and continue to do so to reach a deal. Our agreement met the demands of the teachers' union's key points. It was an agreement that was good for teachers, good for parents, good for taxpayers, and more important, good for our children. It would have raised teachers' pay, both for seniority pay and cost of living adjustments. It would have prevented teachers from being laid off due to a lack of funding. It would have provided more autonomy for teachers, and it would have restricted charter school expansion. While we had obviously hoped for a different outcome yesterday, again, my commitment is to the parents and students that we will not dwell on this setback. Even as we remain at the negotiating table, we will keep doing what is necessary to keep our children in the classrooms and learning. This means a few things. First, we're going back to the bond market tomorrow to raise the necessary resources to restore the financial stability of the district. We have good momentum with our investors. Second, we'll have to cut $100 million from school budgets in order to help decrease our deficit. This is something I'd hope to avoid at all costs. We'll do our very best to prevent teacher cuts, and we'll work with schools to keep class sizes small and prevent mid-year disruptions. But it means school support staff will be disproportionately affected. Lastly, we cannot afford to continue the current practice of paying both teacher and employer pension payments. These are very tough and drastic choices that were not made lightly. In fact, these are not changes we want to make, but we must do so without an agreement. Together, the $50 million we cut from the central office a few weeks ago, as well as the $100 million in cuts to school budgets and the $170 million in savings from pensions, totals $320 million of deficit reduction. These are very serious steps, and we will take to close our immediate budget gap and also make progress towards eliminating permanently our structural deficit as we work in the months to come to close all of that and have a balanced budget. But at the end of the day, our guiding principle remains the same: doing what is right for our children and what is necessary to keep them learning. Our teachers provide an essential service to CPS, and we are mindful and appreciative of their dedication and service to our children. So we will remain working as long as it takes to reach a deal that will ensure that our children can continue to receive an education that will allow them to achieve their full potential.